Welcome, Colleen. Well, thank you all for being here today. I'm so glad to get to spend some time with you and share some stories and lean in together to understand what it really means to live out that legacy, to be both legacy makers, and to discover what community means together. I want to start by sharing with you a psalm. Might be a little bit different, but this is a place of inclusivity. We hear it over and over again. This is Seattle, the P&A, the Greenlake Senior Center. This is a place where people can go and be themselves. And where I'm from, in rural Alaska, I am from a cluster of small villages. There's eight small villages. And every time we get together, we sing a song that is incredibly well known in the area. It goes like this. It goes, on it, get across on it. Hey. Now, it's just me here singing. But imagine a whole room full of people. Imagine the young men on their drums are playing it with all they got. And imagine the noise of the kitchen in the background where my cousins and my aunties are making all the food, and the feeling of community and belonging that happens when you sing together. As part of the reason I love church is like that singing together. We know that singing is an incredible way to bring community together. And we sing this song. Oh, I have sung this song thousands of times. On a tell across on a hida hida ha hey. And the dancing really hits at this part because it goes and everyone joins in this beautiful, beautiful place of community, connection, and belonging. Even if you don't know that song, when you're in that circle with everyone, you belong. And now I have been in Seattle for 30 plus years, and I can tell you 20-ish years ago, I was part of a small church that started renting out the Greenland Seaman Center. And we wanted to make sure that we weren't just renters, but that we could become part of the work that was happening there and support the work. And I can remember one day I was volunteering during the lunch hour. And if anyone ever been to the lunch hour at the Urban Senior Center? Okay, you know what I mean. You know that earlier vision of the singing and the food. You feel that when you're at that lunch at Greenwood Senior Center. And so I went in the back and I started working with this incredible human. Some of you probably know her, Fammy. And she started making magic happen. There was food that had been donated. There was food that had been bought. And it just started just multiplying in front of my eyes. And we worked together over the years. And one day I realized she was 81 years old. I mean, what? How's about them legacy? Like she had more energy than I did, and I was like 35 or something. Like she was just stunning. And when I think about the power of community, it is people like Fanny who make it happen. It's people like my cousin Anita back in the kitchen in the village, who is making the pasta salad and arguing with somebody about whether they should add olives to it or not. And then someone comes, this literally just happened this summer. I was working in the kitchen and during a potluck in the village, someone walks in and says, I brought beaver. And we're like, what? Sure. And literally that's one of our traditional foods. They roasted it up, dropped it off. We're like, who knows how to cut up beaver? And it was not me. But that's the kind of magic that those people in the kitchen do. Is they say, wow, I've never cooked with this kind of food before, but I believe that everyone out there in that dining hall deserves to have a really great meal. And I learned that for Fanny. We also would do this work where we would decorate for the holidays for the Greenwood Senior Center. And I can remember a time that we went down into the basement and we did our looking at all of the decorations that were there. We said, man, some of these they need to be thrown out. And we bought a bunch of new ones. We sadly went into a place where we should not have gone because there were people who felt very attached to some of those older decorations. And we really offended some people. And I will tell you that the power of community also means that we have to have leadership. And Cecily, who was the leader of the Greenwood Senior Center, I saw an example of leadership that I had never really seen before. She was able to talk with us and let us know how that had hurt the community. And we said, oh, we want to make it right. And she said, okay, well, this is how we're going to make it right. And, when we're building community and when we're building that trust, sometimes we make mistakes. And we know that if we don't respond in the right way, or if we don't talk about it, if we don't have leadership like Cecily, then we're not gonna change, we're not gonna grow, we're not gonna become the legacy makers that we want to be. And around that same time where I was just getting to learn about leadership from Danny and from other people and Cecily and other folks in the Greenwood Senior Center, I became an executive director of a nonprofit. I was executive director of Cheese Seattle Club, and I walked into the back of the kitchen and I saw, wow, these are similar foods to what Fanny was doing, and she was getting some of these same foods, and I sort of had the honor of growing the programs. And one day I realized, and it's a much longer story, but I realized, wow, our current housing systems are failing my community. It was really clear in the data, and I was just, what can we do? Where should we go? And I started to think about it and make the inquiries and start talking to people. And, I went to the Office of Housing of City of Seattle and literally had people just laugh in my face and say, no, you don't got it. Your organization's too small. You don't know anything about housing. And then I had some friends who said, no, Colleen. I had this one friend, he said, Colleen, he had built a lot of housing in the city, and said, Colleen, housing is not rocket science. I held on to that phrase. I was like, okay, it's not rocket science. I can do it. And I talked to other people in the community. I mean, that's where Christy and I met way back in the day. We were talking about housing and trying to understand how we can fill the gaps. Sometimes in our roles as leaders, sometimes in our roles as community builders, as volunteers, there's times to have courage. There's times to ask those questions, to, do the right kind of risk assessment. But then when we see the need, when we see and we know and we understand that there is something here that has to happen, then we take that plunge. And so I took it, and I had so many people along the way who just supporting me. You said, yes, we believe that Native people in this city deserve to have housing that is culturally relevant, that meets their particular needs. And let me tell you, and we know this, you guys are an amazing crowd. You know that Native people in the city, we have the highest rates of homelessness out of any other population. And when we are in places where, and I love this about say, oh, we do the man acknowledges, they understand, well, what are the ways that we are going to make the change and make room for new kinds of leadership and new ways of understanding housing and new ways of understanding how we meet mental health needs. That's what is happening in Seattle. I think that when we look around the world right now, we look around our country, there's a lot of things that are happening that are hard. And that's okay. There are people in this room, there are people in this city where we know how to adapt and we know how to flex. We know how to understand that we may not be practicing a DEI in the ways we used to, but we still understand real and historical truth. We truly do understand that, and we, as a city and as a community, we take that on with understanding, with grace for each other, with good food like what you're eating right now, and we make those kind of changes. And that's been my experience in leadership here in the city. I'm so happy to say, even though I don't run Cheese Seattle Club anymore, but one of my best friends in the world, Derek Belgard, is the executive director right now. They have over 500 units now of housing for Native people. Truly one of the biggest honors of my life to get to be a part of it. And now I'm the CEO at Community Roots Housing. I'm taking everything that I learned in that space, serving my Native relatives, taking what I learned serving at Greenwood Senior Center, and moving it into this new space to consider how we continue to adapt in this new environment that we're in, to build affordable housing, to truly make this city a place that everyone can live and enjoy. As I think about that task, I think about a moment I had many years ago in New Zealand. I was there with my sister and my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law is Maori, so Indigenous to New Zealand. I always joke around with my sister that they're like the Indigenous super family. They like live in Hawaii and they're like super gorgeous and tan, and they just like are striding around the beaches together. But I'm not that person. But we're in New Zealand and having this really wonderful like cross-cultural exchange, and we're in the marae, the traditional longhouse, and we go and visit this school, and in the school were all these little brown Maori kids, and they're just the cutest damn kids you've ever seen, and they have to wear a uniform over there, which I don't know, a bunch of kids in uniforms are really cute too. They probably don't like it, but I loved it. And they started singing this song, and the song goes something like this. It says, it translates to, and I'll sing a little portion of it. It says, I will never be lost. I am a seed, born of greatness, descended from a line of chiefs. That is who I am. These beautiful little brown kids singing this song, and I remember I just started crying, like, what is happening? Because what I knew, and they sang it in their traditional language, which I will not do because my brother-in-law laughs at me when I do, but they sang it in their traditional language. What I knew is that in the late 1970s, that the Maori language was mostly gone. There was only about 30 people who could actually speak the language still. And so the Maori community came together and they said, we have to solve this. And one thing it stuck in my head, they said, we had to understand that the government isn't going to do it for us. It's going to be us. It's going to be Maori for Maori. I heard elders out there saying it's going to be Maori for Maori. We have to work to solve this crisis. And so they began these immersion preschools. They focused on these little kids, and they started like just immersing the language speakers, the elders. They worked in the school and they immersed these young little preschoolers in the language. And now, today, when you go to New Zealand, you can turn on the radio station, you turn on the TV station, you hear Maori language. You can go all the way to a PhD in Maori at the universities there. And it's truly something that no one thought could really happen. And so at that moment, I'm looking at these little kids, and they're singing their hearts out, and I'm hearing the translation that says, I could never be lost. I could never be lost. I'm a seed born of greatness. And I want to invite you in this moment to think about that for yourself. It's not just these Maori kids who are special. It's you. You're special. You're a seed born of greatness. You have so much to offer your community. You being here in this moment, this really special moment, thinking about the past, the present, the future of this incredible organization. You being here is so significant. You are part of what we are doing in this city together to showcase and to help people understand real historical truths, things that really happen to people like my community, that really happen to you. And we can make changes that directly address the historical wrongs. That's what belonging really is about. Is everyone in this room knowing and understanding that you are a seed born of greatness? And let me tell you, the great grandparents of these kids I was looking at, they didn't know, they couldn't imagine that their language would really come back. And it came back like so beautifully, so wonderfully. And those kinds of stories are the things that like helped me when I was like feeling down, when I did not feel like I was that seed born of greatness. I thought I was like just some young executive director who didn't know what to do. But I had a passion in my heart, and I had vision for what could be. And that's the beauty of community. That is the legacy that has been built in the P&A. And I am so glad that I get to be a part of it with you. Remember, If you don't remember anything else today, you're a great seed. You have so much to give. You're being who you are authentically, singing a silly song on stage when no one else sings songs. But being yourself is so important. It's so good. What you have is so good. So I look forward to many more years of the Greenwood Senior Center and the P&A and all of the wonderful work that comes out of it. Thank you so much for having me today. It's been so much fun. And I'm so honored to be a part of this family at the P&A. So thank you.